Rob.
Tony. And I'm Jeff.
We're in gaming.
And that's you.
Hello gamers and welcome back to the Inn. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshack if you want to call me by my in-game name. And over the past, I would say 2 to 3 weeks, we've been pumping out a decent amount of videos talking about standard mode, what to expect, the cards that are leaving, but we didn't actually discuss the decks it's going to affect and each individual card within that deck that's going to be going away and how that may affect it in the future. Disguised Toast made a really fantastic post that he posted to Reddit, which I'm pulling this information off of. So I didn't actually make this. Again, I've made a few of these guides before going over really cool, interesting, and informative posts that I've taken off of Reddit and kind of done my own review on because I think you guys deserve to see it. If you don't, go on Reddit all the time, this is definitely some good stuff you should see. So again, this was submitted by Disguised Toast. If you don't know who he is, he's a really cool dude. He makes some fantastic quality content. And if you should go check him out. Yeah, he deserves any sort of view he gets. His quality is good and surpasses ours by a ton, and I hope I can make videos as good as his one day. Definitely. So this is something I'm assuming he put together, and I just want to thank him for that, and hopefully you guys can enjoy it as much as I enjoyed going over it myself and reading in. So it basically goes over decks, as we can see here through the pictures. It targets a deck, let's say Aggro Druid, and then the cards that are leaving when standard mode hits. If you're not really sure what I mean by standard mode and or wild mode, if I talk into that, please click the annotation to the left and I actually went over what is standard mode and what you can expect with it, because that's not what this video is about. This video is the decks that are going to, take the biggest hit from standard mode and all the cards that are in them. I did, again, make a video similar to this, but this is laid out fantastic, and I think this deserves to go over once again, as we are getting really close to standard mode release, so we can kind of get a refresher on the decks that are possibly leaving and the cards that, if they're not leaving, need to be changed with other cards being introduced by the Whispers of the Old Gods. So without further ado, Aggro Druid is losing Shade of Naxxramas, Paladin Shredder, Fel Reaver, and Dr. Boom. I'm actually, if it's not out already, I've actually made and posted an Aggro Druid guide, so hopefully that's out by the time I make this video. If not, it'll be out shortly. I actually don't run the Shade of Naxxramas in it. Instead, I run Mounted Raptor, which is not leaving us when standard mode hits. Dr. Boom, Paladin Shredder, and Fel Reaver are definitely in it. So I'm not really sure what the replacements for those are going to be. I know Paladin Shredder can be replaced by the other maybe 4-drop that's being released. I think it's called Mire Keeper, and we've gone over that in our card review. And it seems like it's a pretty good card. May actually not. Actually, it summons the 2/2 Slime, which is a good tempo play. So actually, I do see it taking the place of maybe Shredder in the Aggro Druid deck. But anyway, that's what Aggro Druid's losing. Not too much. But again, Dr. Boom, Fel Reavers need to be replaced, as they are the heavy hitters in the deck. Aggro Shaman. Really not losing that much, as Crackle is a huge burn spell that we can. Why is the face so big on the Crackle? They actually added the Smork, or he added the Smork face to it. That's really funny. Because as we know, Crackle, along with like Lava Burst, Lava Shock, and Lightning Bolt, are the kind of spell finishers that Aggro Shaman have in the deck, besides the Doomhammer Rockbiter combo. The Crackle is something they're going to lose, so I guess it is a sort of the burst potential of the deck. The burst potential of the deck is decreasing, but I think we're going to see some other cool Shaman cards that may be able to replace Crackle. And also one card really not that big of a hit in comparison to some of the other deck like Grinder Mage or Control Warrior, where it's up to upwards of 4 to 5 cards. So heading down to Control Warrior, by far my favorite class to play is Warrior, but more importantly, the Control Warrior, Elise Warrior deck archetypes are really, I enjoy them a lot, and they're probably my favorite decks. So we're actually losing Despite, Sledge Belcher, Shield Maiden, and Dr. Boom. Dr. Boom is probably going to be seen a lot, as he's found in a ton of decks, but more so Despite is what I'm worried about losing over everything. Despite is just such a fantastic weapon. I mean, not only is it a 4-drop 4/2, so it can attack twice, but on its last attack, that Death Rattle, deal 1 damage to all other minions on the field. May not seem that great at first, but once you start looking into all the synergies that come beyond that, whether it be Hellscream, which is an insane finisher from Warrior, that's a 14 damage combo from the Control Warrior, with attacking face with Despite, having Hellscream on the board, and then attacking with Hellscream now that he's been enraged because of the Despite's Death Rattle. Or we could go as low as, Alkalite of Pain, Pain or maybe a Patron that also can synergize well from the Despite. So it's just one of those cards that works in almost all warrior decks, whether you're playing Patron, Control, or even Rush. So I'm really sad to see Despite leaving us, but I'm sure it'll be replaced with a few other good cards. As we know, Belcher and Shield Maiden, those are more of like the fatigue, grindy sort of warrior cards. Belcher is found in Control, as it's not so much found in Patron, along with the Shield Maiden that combos well with the Shield Slam. So you Shield Maiden, Shield Slam for 7 mana, you can kill a 5-drop creature. Because she's able to grant you 5 armor if you have no armor at that time. So Control Warrior losing a bit, or losing a few cards I should say, but none of these are essential, absolute core cards I'd say besides the Despite, which hopefully again we'll see some great replacements with it in the upcoming expansion. As Shield Maiden, there's this Cthulhu card, and it says if your Cthulhu is greater than a 10/10, gain 10 armor, and it's actually a 7-drop, and it's a 6/6, so it's very similar to the Shield Maiden ability, but it actually requires something, unlike Shield Maiden, who you can just play her and she can get the effect anytime. So Echo Grinder Mage is basically the Giants Mage, or the Molten Giants Mage, as many of you know it as. They are losing Explosive Sheep, Mad Scientist, Duplicate, Echo, and TQbot, so you can pretty much say RIP to this deck. The Duplicate and Echo are absolutely essential to this deck. There's no, like, the whole point of this deck is using those 2 cards at the correct times to be able to generate yourselves more Giants, more Emperor Tharzans, more TQbots. Like, those cards are essential to the deck, and I really don't see how Echo Mage is going to be able to pull itself out of this one, losing these cards. I mean, if anything, we actually saw from our latest Whispers of the Old Gods card reveal that Warrior is getting a card very similar to Echo. It's actually a 3-drop, and it says when copy all cards that are damaged on your side of the field. As Echo, it costs 1 more mana. It just says put a copy of each friendly minion on your field in your hand. There's no requirements, as the Warrior one does cost 1 less mana, but they have to be damaged. So it's interesting they kind of threw Echo into a Warrior deck now and actually are removing this one, and are removing this. So, and also guys, when I say remove, they're not actually taking it out of the game. Again, this is going to be in standard mode. I'm talking about standard mode play, and you can play with any cards you want in wild mode. So, I mean, if you really like Echo Mage and you want to play it, just play it in wild mode. Nothing's restricted there. I'm talking solely in terms of standard mode. And again, if you don't know what it is, annotation to the right. Yes, make sure I'm looking to the right there. And you can get all the information you need there. So, Face Hunter, they're losing Glaive Zuka, Mad Scientist, and Haunted Creeper. I would say Mad Scientist is the biggest loss here. Mad Scientist, I mean, we can even see Mad Scientist in the Echo Mage, the Face Hunter, the Freeze Mage. He's a really, really powerful card. In my opinion, one of the most broken, if not the most broken 2-drop put into Hearthstone. The fact that when he dies, it pulls out a secret out of your deck and actually puts it into play is insane. Like, if you think about it, he costs 2 mana for a 2/2, so his stats are okay, nothing really crazy there. Most 2-drops, you know, they're either a 2/3 or a 3/2, and also have an ability on top of that. So he does lose a stat, but he's able to pull a secret out of your deck. So if you're playing either a Mage or a Hunter class, as we know, those secrets cost anywhere between 2 to 3 mana each. So you're actually being able to generate 2 to 3 mana's worth of value from this card dying, and he's most likely going to be able to kill something when he dies. Your opponent's going to waste a card trying to kill him. So it already goes 1 for 1, and then he pulls a card out of your deck, puts it into play, which is again a 2 for 1, and then it casts it for free, making your opponent, let's say if you played a Mirror Entity, it actually now going more than 2 for 1 because they have to deal with this new creature that Mirror Entity summoned that the Mad Scientist brought out. So Mad Scientist, in my opinion, I am so happy to see this card leaving. It is so freaking broken. And yeah, it's enough about him. We can tell I don't like him very much. Glaive Zuka, it's definitely a good face card for Hunter, but I mean, they can get around not playing it. There's other replacements. And Haunted Creeper, it's a really solid 2-drop. Definitely does very well against other aggro decks and for aggro decks. So, not sure what they're going to replace that card with, but I'm sure it's not like an absolute staple like Mad Scientist is and Duplicate and Echo. Not that Mad Scientist is a pure staple, but it's a card that, you know, the deck definitely gets hit by it not being run anymore. Freeze Mage, they're losing Mad Scientist and Antique Killbot. I would say Antique Killbot and my Freeze Mage, I actually don't run an Antique Killbot, so it's not that crazy, but the Mad Scientist is definitely a damper onto the Freeze Mage. Again, it allows them to pull the secrets out of their deck, so they don't even have to draw the secrets. They can actually just kind of thin out their deck through 2 Mad Scientists dying and able to pull out the free secrets that way. So definitely Freeze Mage taking a heavy hit with losing Mad Scientist here. Alright, Mech Mage. Let me take a drink here. So I like how they put Masan at the bottom here, no more bots, because as we know, this guy is a pretty successful botter on Twitch. But anyway, we won't get into that. They're losing Cogmaster, Clockwork Gnome, Snow Chugger, Mech Warper, Noyotron, Tinkertown Technician, Goblin Blast Mage, Paladin Shredder, and Dr. Boom. So, I mean, I don't want to go over each and every single one of these mechs, as that would take forever, but all of these mechs are found in Mech Mage, as it's a very cheap, effective deck to play on ladder, as we've seen my free-to-play account do very, very well with the Mech Mage deck, or I should say the budget Mech Mage deck we've built on there. And, I can only assume that they're shifting away from mechs. I wouldn't say shifting out, but they're phasing out these mechs, and they'll probably introduce more mechs, to be completely honest. And if they don't introduce mechs, it'll be some other cool class that we'll be able to make, you know, fun, effective, and competitive decks with that'll be fairly cheap. So, the era of the mechs is over, but I still think they'll come back in the future. Alright, so mid-range Druid is losing 4 cards, not too crazy. It's losing the Shade, the Shredder, the Loatheb, and the Dr. Boom. I would say the Dr. Boom or the Shredder is the most important card out of these 4. The Loatheb's really, really nice, but it can get around playing it, and also the Shade of Naxxramas is super nice, but again, Mounted Raptor kind of does the same thing. I wouldn't say the same thing, because Shade of Naxxramas is better than Mounted Raptor, because it's invisible, but the Mounted Raptor is a sticky card, stays on the board if they actually have to deal with the card that comes out of the Mounted Raptor, as well as dealing with the Raptor itself. So there's definitely replacements in the Shade of Naxxramas area, and even the Powdered Shredded area, but the Dr. Boom and Loatheb are going to be cards that are the 5-drop and the 7-drop slots are going to be... There's going to need to be something that fits into there if we want to keep mid-range Druid alive. Also, we've actually heard that Force of Nature Savage Roar is taking a hit as well. So if that's the case, we can actually see Ramp Druid becoming a thing, because cards like Mire Keeper are coming into play, which actually adds ramp if you can't seem to draw that wild growth. So heading down to mid-range Hunter, I guess this is taking about as big as a hit as Secret Paladin. Besides the Web Spinner and the Mad Scientist, every single card in the mid-range Hunter list is also in Secret Paladin. The Haunted Creeper, the Shredder, the Belcher, the Loatheb, and the Dr. Boom. Mid-range Hunter, taking a huge hit. I'm sure we'll see. I think they're turning Hunter into like a control class, or at least trying to, with the cards that we've seen them release thus far. So it'll be interesting to see where they take it. As again, like I mentioned, mid-range Hunter taking a beating here, so hopefully it'll stay alive. Not sure how, but hopefully. Mid-range Paladin. Shielded Minibot, Muster for Batter, Paladin Shredder, Sledge Belcher, Dr. Boom. As if we notice here, there's also Cog Hammer in this list too, but he didn't include it. But look at this. It's a 2-drop. A 3-drop, a 4-drop, a 5-drop, a 5-drop, and a 6-drop. That's almost every single card in each category, and most of the time you run 2 of each of these cards besides Dr. Boom. So we're talking at least 10 cards here, not including Coghammer or Divine, no, I don't even know if Divine Favor is in there. But anyway, these are huge cards that Paladin is losing. So I'm not really sure how good Paladin's going to be after this, but... Muster for Battle and Shielded Minibot are literally the game changers early on. And then if you can follow, like if you start with like double Shielded Minibot, Muster for Battle, or even just Shielded Minibot, Muster into Shredder, most decks can't keep up with that. That's insane. So I'm glad they're removing these, and these are leaving. But at the same time, I'm not sure how Paladin's going to stay competitive. Oil Rogue is literally losing the point of it being called Oil Rogue, and that's called the Tinker's Sharp Oil. So they're losing Oil, NT Killbot, and Loatheb, and NT. I would say all these 3 cards are really important into Rogue, especially the Heal and Oil. I mean, they're all really important, but Oil is obviously the most important, followed by NT Killbot and Loatheb, because as we know, Rogue takes a lot of damage because he has no self-healing cards. Because after you attack enough creatures with your dagger, you lose a lot of health. So NT Killbot was really important in this deck, along with the sustainability aspect of it. And then also Loatheb is really important because when you're following up with that 2-turn lethal, when you've got the Deadly Poison, the Oil, the Blade Fury, you need the following turn for your opponent not to, cast Lay on Hands or some huge heal spell, or use like a board clear. And that's where Loatheb comes into play, and they're able to stop you, shut down your opponent from able to do anything further the following turn. So Oil Rogue, not going to be a thing, to be honest, unless you're playing, again, Wild. Priest is losing quite a few good cards. Zombie Chow, Light of the Naru, Shrink Master, Dark Cultist, Valen's Chosen, Death Lord, Vol'jin, and Light Bomb. The card that sticks out the most would probably be Light Bomb, Valen's Chosen, and Zombie Chow. As we know, the power of Zombie Chow combined with the Soul Priest actually deals 5 damage to your opponent instead of healing you, or healing them for 5. So really powerful combination there, but probably the card that sticks out the most is Light Bomb, and this is definitely the Priest's best field clear they have. The Priest ran double Light Bomb. I mean, let's say the Priest was going against a Patron deck, or maybe a Zoo deck, or just literally any Secret Paladin, any aggressive deck that most of the creatures had more attack than defense, or at least the same. Light Bomb just cleared the board, and if you could run 2 of these, it was almost scary for your opponent to put creatures down because they're just gonna die. And if they, held off on it too long, the Priest is almost guaranteed to have Light Bomb by the time the other opponent decided, F it, I'm gonna go all in, and then just died to Light Bomb anyway. So Priest definitely losing some big hitters here. I'm sure there'll be replacements for it, but again, Light Bomb, that's a pretty big hit, along with Velen's Chosen and Zombie Chow, like I mentioned. Patron Warrior losing the Dr. Boom, which we've seen so many decks lose, so I can't even talk too much about it. Despite, which I've already been over in the Control Warrior, and the Unstable Ghoul, and we've actually seen already 2 or 3 cards that have similar effects to Unstable Ghoul in this new card reveals that we've been over, the card reveals we've talked about. There's already been a couple cards like Unstable Ghoul, so I'm not really worried about that card too much. Despite, again, it's the heavy hitter in this list, or in this particular section, and hopefully we'll see a decent replacement for that. Oh my gosh, Reno Warlock. Rip Reno Warlock. So we're losing Dark Bomb, Void Color, Implosion, Shredder, Belcher, Antique Healbot, Slag and Fugan, which I honestly didn't run in mine, Lothab, Dr. Boom, and Mal'Ganis. These are some pretty good cards. Hold on. As the new set comes, I'm sure there'll be decent replacements in each slot for the Reno, as we only run, or that particular deck only runs 1 of cards because of Reno Jackson. So unlike, Secret Paladin, where if we look down here, they ran 2 Avenge, 2 Haunted Creepers, 2 Shielded Minibots, 2 Muster for Battles, 2 Piloted Shredders. As the Dark Bomb, you only can run 1 Dark Bomb, 1 Void Color, 1 Implosion. So the hit on Reno Warlock looks bad, but in actuality it's not. It's like half the amount as Secret Paladin, because they run 2 of these cards and only 1 of the cards in Reno Warlock. So not too bad for the Reno deck. For Secret Paladin, we kind of went over this when we were talking about Mid-Range Hunter, losing Avenge, Haunted Creeper, Shielded Minibot, Muster for Battle, Coghammer, Piloted Shredder, Sledge Belcher, Lothab, and Dr. Boom. That's literally, if we look down the line, a 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, and then obviously the 7 drop here. So literally everywhere on their curve, they're losing one of their best cards, if not the best card. So Secret Paladin, if you're not playing in Wild, is going to be shit. And if you notice, they even put Dr. 2, Dr. 3, Dr. 4, Dr. 5, and Dr. 7. I'm telling you, if a Paladin has a curve like this, it's insane. It's almost impossible for them to lose. So I'm happy to see all these cards leave. And if you've seen any of my videos before, you know how much I absolutely hate Secret Paladin. Moving down to, we only got 2 more left, which is pretty good. So I think we're doing all right on time. We're going to go to the Tempo Mage. They're losing Clockwork Gnome, which it didn't really play in my Tempo Mage deck. Flame Cannon, Unstable, Portal, Mad Scientist, Piloted Shredder, Toshly, and Dr. Boom. Toshly, Unstable Portal, Flame Cannon, and Clockwork Gnome are normally cards that you kind of like hit or miss with the tempo. Some have it, some don't, so they're not absolute staples, but cards like Mad Scientist, Shredder, and Dr. Boom are absolute staples in the Tempo Mage. So definitely taking a hit, probably not as big as a hit as the Secret Paladin, but still a solid hit, as we see at least 7 cards on here. So going to the Zoo Warlock, they're not really losing a ton. I mean, Implosion's really important, Lothab's really important, the Egg, some zoos actually aren't even playing the Egg anymore, and the Haunted Creeper's important, but I'm sure Zoo Warlock will be seeing some more really good cards in this expansion, as we've seen Peddler is now making its way, or has already made its way into a lot of Zoo Warlock decks. I mean, even Handlocks played the Dark Peddler. So this is again a good replacement for the Haunted Creeper and the Egg. Also, with removing these cards, it makes it so the like Sea Giant variants of the deck can kind of come out and say hello, because as we know, Zoo Warlock has pretty much been the same deck for a really, really long time now. I mean, there's a couple changes here with maybe 2 or 3 cards, but we actually haven't seen a change of more than like 4 or 5 cards. So with this upcoming, move to standard mode, we're going to be seeing at least, 5 to 10 new cards being replaced inside of the Zoo Warlock as we're phasing out some of these down here. So this should be good. Really looking forward to what the standard mode has to offer. Hopefully you've enjoyed this list provided by, again, Disguised Toast of each deck kind of losing its key cards, and my input on what we can assume is going to happen with that and how bad it really hurt the deck. So hopefully if you've enjoyed this video, let me know in the comment section below. If you want to see more of these kinds of me highlighting some other players kind of how should I say, information guides on what they've seen or what they created, and then me going over it and having my opinion on it. I really enjoy doing this as I kind of, you know, as I'm talking and like thinking about this, I learn as well. It's weird to say, it's weird to kind of think of, but I actually learn a lot by just going over this and talking to myself about it, which sounds kind of weird. But anyway, off the point, hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. As always, guys, I'm Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.